Welcome to a brand new episode of the Jampack Report today for March the 19th of 2020. Of course, my name is Samuel Adams, and this is a daily gaming news podcast meant to bring you the hottest news you need to know from around the industry, hosted on YouTube and podcast services around the world 5 days a week. Of course, this is your one-stop shop for all of the hottest gaming news that you need to know. So if you enjoyed, you like what you see, subscribe on a platform of your choice, including podcast services around the world or YouTube, and keep yourself in the know. But today we have plenty of news to dive into, so let's kick it off with our headline story. Call of Duty 2020 is reportedly a gritty Black Ops reboot. A very interesting story that gets me personally excited. Backing up previous reports, the Gaming Revolution says this year's game is in development at Black Ops creator Treyarch with support from Sledgehammer Games and Raven Software. Codenamed Project Zeus and likely to be named simply Call of Duty Black Ops, the game is said to be a reboot of the Black Ops franchise, similar in a fashion to 2019's Modern Warfare reimagining. Characters Alex Mason and Sergeant Frank Woods will return in the campaign, although they will be portrayed by new actors, and the game will tell a new storyline with some similar threads to previous Black Ops titles. The campaign is said to be focused on the real-life events of the Cold War and Vietnam War, and explore the latter a lot more than the original Black Ops game did. It's described as highly realistic and gorier than Modern Warfare, with plenty of shock factor and notable interrogation scenes. The campaign will reportedly include a retelling of the Vietnam story from multiple perspectives, including the US, South Vietnam, and the Viet Cong. Built with the engine that Infinity Ward Poland made, which was used for Modern Warfare, the game is said to include large multiplayer modes, including 32v32 ground war. Kill streaks will include UAV, counter-UAV, a dog-based one, a flamethrower, and a bomber plane which destroys any other sky-based streaks. Operators are said to be returning, so specialist characters do not look to be. Multiplayer DLC will reportedly be free as it is with Modern Warfare, but a Zombies Season Pass is being considered. One source told the site that Zombies will feature a new storyline, possibly based around Vietnam, which is more realistic and grounded than the fantasy stuff seen in recent years. It is still unclear if the title will feature a Battle Royale mode, although the Gaming Revolution claims Sledgehammer is currently developing a free-to-play Call of Duty game scheduled for release in 2021, which will apparently be open world and include a lot of Battle Royale elements. To date, publisher Activision has only confirmed this year's premium Call of Duty offering will arrive in the fourth calendar quarter of the year. It said in February that the title is already, quote, generating excitement in playtest, and according to US market research firm the NPD Group, all 4 Black Ops titles released to date were among the top 10 best-selling games of the 2010s. It was recently confirmed that Treyarch co-studio head Jason Blundell, one of the lead creators of Call of Duty Zombies mode, had left the developer after 13 years, which we talked about on a previous episode of the Jampack Report. So, the rumors begin to fly surrounding Call of Duty 2020, and of course, as the Call of Duty kid that I will always be on the inside, I can't help but get excited, especially considering the Black Ops remains to date my favorite Call of Duty. I've always been a history buff growing up. It was always one of my favorite subjects in school, and the Vietnam era, from the music and the culture and the flower power movement and the war itself all the way to the culture back here in the state, it was just such an interesting period of time. And there's so much potential for a gritty Black Ops reboot. There is so much potential for storytelling within the world of the Vietnam War and within that time frame. So I'm very excited to see what they end up coming up with. Now, I will say tempering my expectations is probably a good idea, because this is the same game that has had a very tumultuous development, according to multiple inside sources that say one game was getting pretty far into development, then Treyarch had to pretty much take the reins because 2 competing studios, Sledgehammer and Raven, they just weren't getting along. I thought I mispronounced that, but I was like, no, wait, I'm working. This quarantine's getting to my brain. But regardless, I am very excited to see what comes out of this year's Call of Duty. Now, one big interesting point here that I do want to point out is the free-to-play game that they're supposedly working on for 2021. It sounds like it's not exclusively a Battle Royale game, but it's an open world Call of Duty with Battle Royale elements. I'm interested to see what that exactly entails. It could just be a movement of words in a way where they are just kind of beating around the bush, and it will end up being a Battle Royale, which is totally possible. Of course, Warzone is incredibly successful. Within 3 days, it gained 15 million players across platforms, which is pretty impressive to say the least. So it kind of makes sense for a Battle Royale to be coming, especially one set in in the Vietnam War era. Definitely interested in that. Additionally, the zombies tidbit is interesting to me because I was always a fan of the original zombies style of gameplay growing up. Whenever we had Kino and whenever we had the original Nacht der Untoten, I believe is what it was called, something like that. You know, these old maps that originated in World at War and then transitioned into Black Ops. I love that classic zombies experience where things weren't overly complicated. You just shot zombies. The Easter eggs were small. You could pretty much trigger a couple of songs within the world if you shot a monkey on a barrel or something like that. You know, these little small Easter eggs. I don't need this giant multiple hour long Easter egg hunt. That's a bit much for me. And I think that it did scare off a lot of players that might have just been wanting to shoot a couple of zombies whenever you start going back into the Roman Empire, as we saw with Black Ops 4. That was kind of strange in my mind. Now, with all of that being taken into consideration, to simplify it and to make a Vietnam War zombies, where zombies are coming out of the ground, running at you, probably a couple of powered up zombies in a way, that sounds very interesting to me. That sounds very intriguing, and I've always been a big fan of that. In fact, I would love to see them bake in some kind of chemical warfare element where maybe there was some kind of chemical attack, something that was against the rules of warfare, and then these zombies began to happen and take over the battlefield, whatever it might be. That's kind of my 2 cents on that, and I'm excited to see where they go. But ultimately, I'll always be a fan of Call of Duty, regardless of the game and regardless of how good it is. I still will always pull for the franchise. I just grew up on it. I grew up on Modern Warfare 2, the original Modern Warfare. I'm a huge fan of Modern Warfare 2019. I've been playing it religiously, and I cannot wait to see the free-to-play game on top of Black Ops 2020, on top of any other game that they end up coming out with. Very excited. Now, don't mince my words. There are some Call of Duty games that are trash, and I will call them trash to their faces. Advanced Warfare, Infinite Warfare wasn't great. You had a couple of turds mixed in there. Let's not beat around the bush. But on top of that, you also had the most recent one, which was Black Ops 4 from Treyarch. That was okay, but still not great. Modern Warfare was a pretty good return to form. So I'm excited for this year's Call of Duty. Big fan of boots on the ground. Can't wait to see where things go. However, moving on to a late-breaking story today, GameStop employees are told to keep stores open because they are, quote, essential businesses amid COVID-19 outbreak. Across the United States, stores deemed non-essential are closing, either voluntarily or by government order, to help keep people safe and limit the spread of the outbreak of COVID-19. But employees at video game retailer GameStop claim managers and corporate executives are failing to comply with these ordinances, and GameStop has confirmed to IGN its intention to keep stores open as essential businesses. A representative for GameStop has since confirmed to IGN via email that the corporation is keeping stores open as an essential business during the pandemic, citing a list of items GameStop sells that the company deems to be essential products. The list of items provided to IGN includes webcams, microphones, mice, keyboards, monitors, chargers, audio equipment, and more. No specific games or game consoles are listed. IGN obtained internal memos sent from GameStop corporate informing them that stores should remain open despite the pandemic, as first reported by Kotaku. Quote, due to the products we carry that enable and enhance our customers' experience in working from home, we believe GameStop is classified as essential retail and therefore is able to remain open during this time. The internal memo provided to IGN also informs employees what to do in case local authorities attempt to close the store. We have received reports of local authorities visiting stores in an attempt to enforce closure despite our classification. Store managers are approved to provide the document linked below to law enforcement as needed, the notice reads. The memo then links to a simple printout that directs questions about GameStop's policies to its corporate office number. Several employees who wish to remain anonymous for fear of repercussion have shared their stories in dealing with GameStop's corporate office amid the COVID-19 outbreak. Quote, GameStop corporate is putting its employees at risk of COVID-19, one concerned GameStop employee claimed to IGN. They aren't closing stores and they aren't offering paid time off. They are still pushing their employees to advertise events at their stores that will draw crowds of people. GameStop has since canceled midnight launches for Doom Eternal and Animal Crossing New Horizons, but GameStop also announced it would sell Doom early to help keep crowds small. Another GameStop employee located in a city that recently ordered non-essential businesses to close also reached out to IGN about their concerns. We are not getting cleaning supplies, but GameStop is still telling its guests we are getting them and cleaning high-traffic surfaces, the anonymous employee said. One of the main complaints from employees is the alleged difficulty in getting clear answers from GameStop's corporate office. Despite multiple daily correspondences with GameStop corporate, employees reportedly did not receive answers on whether they would have to close their stores or not. Furthermore, it has been difficult for employees to figure out how they might be affected financially if their stores are closed, according to our sources. One employee working in a county that declared a bunker-in-place order which closed non-essential businesses for several weeks revealed how difficult it was to communicate with GameStop on how to handle the situation. Our corporate representatives notified us hourly of how GameStop would proceed. However, they claim that GameStop told employees of the store to continue business as usual. Multiple sources have also told IGN the GameStop corporate is using phone calls so as to not leave a paper trail. One California-based GameStop employee told IGN the GameStop is utilizing a section in a shelter-in-place order that exempts essential infrastructure to remain open during a lockdown. Some items have been difficult to procure during the COVID-19 emergency. Items like toilet paper and cleaning supplies have been scarce since emergency lockdowns have come in place across the country. As for webcams and keyboards, businesses like IGN do require these for our production needs. As IGN Senior Director of Video Production Dave Toole says, we have not had any issues finding mic setups using sources like B&H, but quality webcams have been impossible to find. We had to pull webcams from IGN's conferences using the Logitech C922 as a minimum benchmark in quality. However, these are not items that should require people under lockdown or shelter-in-place orders to leave their social distancing. This is more applicable to items like groceries, pharmacies, and even takeout delivery. That was a long article, but it gave you a very in-depth breakdown of the situation going on behind the scenes at GameStop. And I think that right now, this is a very dirty business practice. And I do want to say that according to Benji Sales on Twitter, who is kind of a novice video game reporter, he has insider sources, he reports on sales figures, a very reputable source that has been sourced by multiple big names in the gaming industry. According to this individual, he has some insight into GameStop employees that have said essentially they aren't really going to be closing down anytime soon, and in fact, their sales have gone up because of the coronavirus epidemic, because of the coronavirus pandemic, because of the fact that more people are working from home, staying at home. They want to stock up on games so they have something to do over the course of the next couple of weeks, maybe even the couple of months. And so it's no surprise that sales are actually up, and GameStop is trying to take advantage of the pandemic to really boost their sales, because right now they need all of the money they can possibly get. You can't really turn anybody away whenever you're facing potential bankruptcy and entire business closure. So from the financial perspective, I understand why they want to stay open, but from an ethical perspective, this is completely backwards. You simply should not be open right now if you aren't a real essential business. In a way, I think of GameStop right now as the rich guy in Titanic. You know the one I'm talking about. The one that Rose was going to marry that wasn't a good person at all. The one that grabbed a kid whenever the boat was sinking and yelled, "I have a child," and then got on the lifeboat before any other people that actually had kids could get on the lifeboat. That's kind of GameStop, because they're saying, "I have webcams," and they're getting on the boat right now. You can't pull that card. That's not right, but that's what they're doing. And ultimately, I think that you are going to be seeing a bit of a hit back from the gaming population, because right now you're putting people's lives at risk. And I know that some are saying the coronavirus is not nearly that dangerous. It's not going to kill anybody, but it might not harm people like me that are young and healthy. But I could take it, get sick, have a case of the sniffles and a fever for a couple of days. Then I could go hug grandma if I wasn't as responsible as I am and pretty much hunkering down at home, and then grandma gets sick and she might not fare so well. It's that kind of commonplace mentality. It's that kind of active thinking that has to be performed in this specific case, and GameStop is more concerned about profit right now than they are about the health of their employees and the families that are impacted by this virus. Not a good look, and I think that more people are going to be saying, hey, you're kind of a shitty company for staying open, peace, and that's where that's going to end up. But of course, big week for video game releases. I have no doubt many are swinging by to pick up Doom Eternal early. On top of that, Animal Crossing is going to be a big deal tomorrow, so we'll see what their report is towards the end of the quarter, but next quarter might not be so hot. We'll see what happens. However, NASCAR is replacing canceled races with esports featuring pro drivers. Sports leagues and broadcasters are scrambling to fill the void now that many live competitions are canceled due to the COVID-19 pandemic. And for NASCAR and Fox Sports, that means venturing into relatively uncharted territory. They have announced an inaugural eNASCAR iRacing Pro Invitational Series that will replace canceled NASCAR races with simulation-style esports competitions. These will involve top-tier competitors too. You can expect Dale Earnhardt Jr., Bobby Labonte, Kyle Busch, and Denny Hamlin, among other racers and luminaries from various NASCAR series. Why is this happening? Familiar Fox broadcasters like Jeff Gordon will commentate on the 90-minute race programs. And before you're wondering, no, this is not another giant opportunity for the novel coronavirus to spread. Fox said it was following CDC guidelines to make sure the production is safe. The first event takes place on March 22nd at 1:30 p.m. Eastern on FS1 and the Fox Sports app. There is no doubt that the virtual series was born out of desperation. It might, however, serve as a crash course on esports for millions of people. Many in the general public are only vaguely familiar with competitive gaming at best. A smooth race could do much to inform people about virtual motorsports, even if only a fraction of viewers keep watching once conventional NASCAR returns. Cool, I like this. Do you know why I like it? Because they're trying something new. And I think that you see a lot of people trying something new in the midst of the coronavirus right now because of the fact, is this just this woman talking for a while? Okay, there we go. All right, so you get here. And this is an actual race. I think the main thing that I want to drive home is that esports is difficult to kind of expose to people. Esports is difficult to show off for a lot of people. And I think that's mainly because of the fact that it's difficult to really market to the NASCAR audience. It's difficult to market to the standard stereotypical person why they should watch an esport over the real deal. And of course, you see this gameplay and it looks like very good gameplay. And it's going to suffice for the time being, but it's never going to be able to replace the actual sport itself for a lot of the standard viewers. However, if only a fraction of these people are interested in esports, that's still a fraction that might have never even known that iRacing existed. And so I think it's cool to be getting these high-end, top-tier race car drivers on board to really get into a simulator and give it their best. And of course, they're trying to fill airtime that is otherwise going to be left completely unfilled. So it makes sense. Cool, creative idea, and I'm excited to see how it goes. So again, if you do want to tune in, March 22nd on FS1 or the Fox Sports app, you can check out at 1:30 NASCAR drivers competing in an iRacing NASCAR race. But finally, a good round feel-good story to end off today's show. Razer is going to make and donate medical masks to aid with the coronavirus. As the coronavirus pandemic continues to spread, one risk to emergency service providers is a shortage of supplies like the face masks that keep them safe as they treat patients. The gaming hardware and accessory manufacturer Razer is planning to step in and do its part by shifting some of its production capacity to make more and donate up to 1 million surgical masks. In a thread on Twitter via Kotaku, CEO Min Liang Tan said the designers and engineers at the company have been working long hours to convert their production lines to make surgical masks. It's starting with Singapore, where Razer is headquartered, and regional offices will be reaching out to government and health authorities to plan how it will prioritize the distribution of the masks. All of us have a part to play, and we should be doing whatever we can with the situation getting more serious, Tan says. This emergency conversion of some of our lines and donation of masks is the first step of many that we will take. We are committed to contributing our time, resources, effort, and talent towards the fight against COVID-19. Hospitals have sounded the alarm in recent days that they are already seeing shortages of some supplies like face masks as the outbreak expands. The Department of Defense is donating 5 million surgical masks and 2,000 ventilators to hospitals, and Vice President Mike Pence has called on the construction industry to donate even more masks. Coronavirus has already had a broad impact on the games industry, notably leading to the cancellation of E3 2020. The games retailer GameStop has been forced to shift policies and release dates to maintain social distancing practices amid the dual release of Animal Crossing New Horizons and Doom Eternal. Of course, we just talked about that. And of course, they're continuing to force stores to stay open. We went really deep into that. Cool. I like the idea of converting production methods to essentially, help other people. I think that's really what everybody should be focusing on right now, is how can you take what you have to offer and help other people? For instance, in my day job, I tend to write a lot of blogs. I write a lot of online content. So I'm planning on writing more content, focusing on how people can stay safe, how working from home can benefit you and help you stay healthy, how you can get up and move around to keep yourself healthy while working at home. It's not much, it's a small little piece of the puzzle, but I like to think that maybe my tips could help somebody. Even if it might not have an impact or a minimal impact in total, you should still be doing what you can, and donating medical masks instead of just shutting down your lines of production, that's a pretty good move that is definitely going to help fight this virus, so kudos to Razer for making that happen, and I would encourage all of you to kind of take an audit of what you can offer and see if you can do something to help people out in this time of need. But that rounds out today's episode of the Jampack Report. If you enjoyed this one, drop me a like down below and let me know what you think about the show and the topics we talked about today. You picking up Call of Duty 2020? Are you going to GameStop in the middle of the coronavirus? Are you a big fan of NASCAR and you're going to be watching some iRacing? Or are you going to be, of course, supporting Razer during this time by buying a new mouse, a headset? What might you be doing? Would love to hear your thoughts. But until next time, you guys have a fantastic rest of your night. I'll talk to you soon, and peace.